Carroll is out, and somebody else will be in. Welcome in to this edition of Seahawks Today by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Thanks for joining us as we have a look at the top 10 coaching candidates to be the next head man for your Seattle Seahawks. We'll go through my entire list, give you some insights on the possibilities of who could be the next man to lead the Seahawks organization. We'll go over that in just a matter of moments. Before we do, I want to hear from you, your chance to be the GM and owner here on Seahawks Today. You tell me who should be the next head coach of the Seattle Seahawks, replace Pete Carroll. Weigh in the comments section. Give us a name below of who comes to mind, who you'd like to see be the next head coach. The odds-on favorite is Dan Quinn. According to NFL Network's Ian Rappaport, he is the leader in the clubhouse to get the job, but it is not a done deal until the pen is on the dotted line. And obviously, we've seen things in the past where these situations can fall apart at the 11th hour. At one point, Josh McDaniels was the Indianapolis Colts head coach. Bill Belichick was the New York Jets head coach for a day. Everything points to Dan Quinn getting this job, but let's tell you more. Quinn was the former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, led the Falcons to the Super Bowl, where they lost to the New England Patriots, the infamous 28-3 game. And that's where my concern is with Dan Quinn. He's done a great job with the Dallas Cowboys as their defensive coordinator, did a great job with the Seahawks as their defensive coordinator. But I can't just sit here idly by and ignore what happened at the end of Quinn's tenure in Atlanta. Kyle Shanahan leaves as his offensive coordinator to go to the San Francisco 49ers. He hires Steve Sarkisian, who is now the head coach of the Texas Longhorns, to be his OC. That didn't work out well. And Matt Ryan's play fell off significantly. And a lot of people were wondering, was the success that Dan Quinn had in Atlanta a result of having Kyle Shanahan? Because once Shanahan went out the door, things fell apart here. Now, maybe that just means he needs to hire a really good offensive coordinator, and he can build upon what he did there in Atlanta. But at the same time, it makes me skeptical just because of how things went without one offensive coach on his staff there. So what do you guys think? Should the Seahawks hire Dan Quinn as their next head coach? We mentioned he's the favorite. He's got connections to the organization. They're very familiar with him. What do you think? Y for yes, N for no. Answer our pinned comment today. Let us know if Dan Quinn should be the Seahawks' next head coach or not. Folks, we are all over this coaching search. We're going to be tracking planes and everything, automobiles, trains, everything here on the channel over the next few weeks, however long this coaching search takes. We'll also be doing live shows each and every week, and we'll go live whenever the hiring is announced. We'll bring you our daily news and rumors. This is the channel for you, and I would love to get to our next milestone of 48.5 thousand subscribers. We are less than 350 away from reaching that milestone. Sub it up, sub for a great Seahawks head coaching hire. That's how that works, right? This is why you subscribe. Join the family now and stay up to date with the coaching search here in Seattle. Number 2 on our list is Jim Harbaugh, the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines. And if it were up to me, if I were in charge of this coaching search, this would be who my first phone call would go to, would be the Michigan Wolverines head coach, who has done an outstanding job. He's been a winner everywhere he's been, whether it was the University of San Diego, then to Stanford with Andrew Luck and company, then to the San Francisco 49ers, and now just this past week, winning his first ever title, a national championship with the Wolverines this year. I have been very impressed with Jim Harbaugh every single step of the way, taking the Niners to a Super Bowl. He's done it great, and he's an offensive mind too. Although we see Jim Harbaugh teams love to run the football and be physical, Jim Harbaugh knows offense, and he knows how to develop and train quarterbacks. We've seen that time and time again with Jim Harbaugh, from the likes of Alex Smith to Colin Kaepernick to J.J. McCarthy. The list goes on and on. Andrew Luck we mentioned. Harbaugh would be the one I would hire. And I know some of you are going to point to, well, he was a Niner guy. He was our division rival and all that. I don't care if he was a Niner guy or not. Those years are so long ago. The bottom line is this. He's been a winner everywhere he's been. Plain and simple. At any level, he knows offense, knows how to develop quarterbacks, comes from a great pedigree. I don't care that he was with San Francisco years ago and that he was a rival. Enemies can become friends. Bring it on. Come bring Jim to town. Number 3 on our list, Mike Vrabel, the former head coach of the Tennessee Titans. And I got to tell you, I'm a huge fan of Mike Vrabel. I thought that he got screwed by the Tennessee Titans getting fired from that job, that it was a result of the mismanagement there with that Titans organization, with their ownership and their GM continuing to make bad decision after bad decision. Former coach of the year with the Tennessee Titans and was a hell of a football player. If you go back to his days with New England, ended up winning 3 Super Bowls, was the DC with the Houston Texans back in 2017. And I think you're looking at Mike Vrabel, honestly. I believe he is a top 5 coach in this league. And I know some people are going to be like, well, are you sure you want to go with a defensive-minded coach? We just had a defensive-minded coach in Pete Carroll. Do we want to continue to go that route? I look at Mike Vrabel and such a good leader, such a good football mind. He's going to succeed anywhere. And if the Seahawks pass up on him, he's just going to go somewhere else and win. And if we're talking about like the safest hire of some sorts, it might be Mike Vrabel here as far as just a sure thing. I think he's that good, and he's ready to go to compete at that level. If you had to choose between Harbaugh and Vrabel, who would you go with? I would lean towards Jim. I would take Vrabel second. I'd take him over Dan Quinn personally. Who would you go with, Harbaugh or Vrabel between those two? Type J for Jim Harbaugh. Type M for Mike Vrabel. Let us know in the comment section below. Today's show is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time, the place to go for tickets to sporting events, concerts, theater productions, and more. The best seats for the lowest prices guaranteed. You can save $20 off your first purchase when you use the promo code SeahawksChat. And I got to tell you, we're offering some great tickets to Seattle Kraken games. Get cracking with the Kraken, as it's a great time to head over to Climate Pledge Arena and go see that team play, as we got those tickets on sale now, as well as other events around the Seattle area. Download Game Time, get $20 off. Don't worry about messing with those shady scalpers. Keep it locked in with Game Time. Save now. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. And you can also go download Game Time. Terms and conditions do apply. $20 off, promo code SeahawksChat for more. If you're talking about young offensive minds, Ben Johnson is your guy. And I can tell you this much. Ben Johnson, if it's not Seattle, it's going to be one of these other job openings. Ben Johnson will be a head coach in the National Football League this hiring cycle. He's currently with the Detroit Lions and doing an incredible job helping lead that team to their first ever NFC North Division title. The last time the Lions won the division, it was called the NFC Central that they were in. Very young guy, started his NFL coaching career back in 2012 and has risen up the ranks very fast. And the thought is that, hey, if you could develop a guy like Jared Goff and get that offense cranking the way it was, then you must be a pretty good offensive coach. And that's what Ben Johnson is. Everybody points to Sean McVay, trying to find the next Sean McVay. This cycle, the guy that everybody's got their eyes on is Ben Johnson potentially. I think he's ready to be a head coach. I don't know if Seattle's necessarily the right fit, if they want to turn this to a young offensive coach, but if they do, Ben Johnson should be your guy if that's what they're interested in as far as that goes. Another name, this one, probably the most familiar with fans in the state of Washington, that is Washington Huskies head coach Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer has done a phenomenal job with the Huskies, leading them to the college football playoff national title game this year, a win in the Sugar Bowl over the Texas Longhorns that came up just short against Jim Harbaugh's Michigan Huskies team. Before that, he was at Fresno State, did a really good job, and he has won national titles to his name. At the NAIA level at Sioux Falls, He was a 3-time national champion head coach. Kalen DeBoer's been great. And with Kalen DeBoer, that brings up the possibility of pairing him up with Michael Penix Jr. We've talked a lot about on this channel the idea of drafting Michael Penix Jr. and bringing him to Seattle. You get a guy that knows him as well as anybody in Kalen DeBoer. That could be an intriguing 1-2 combination. The thing that's going to hurt Kalen DeBoer's chances, although he's going to be a fan favorite and would be immediately loved, is the lack of NFL experience. He's never been around an NFL organization before. He's only coached at those college levels. Not saying he couldn't make the transition, but that's going to be a mark against him of not having those NFL ties there. But he's already got a good thing going with the Washington Huskies. If you're the Seahawks and you're a Washington fan, in a perfect world, DeBoer stays at Washington. They continue to roll and do great things in the Big Ten, and the Seahawks hire a great coach, and both programs are rolling. I think that's what you would really want. You don't want to hurt one thing to help another, but we'll see what the Seahawks do. What about Michael Penix? Bring him to the Seattle Seahawks. Should he stay in town? Put your GM hat on. Let us know. Kalen DeBoer, Michael Penix. It sounds interesting. Would you draft Michael Penix? Type D for draft, P for pass. Let us know in the comment section below. Now the next 5 names. These are the long shot candidates for the Seahawks. Let's start in-house. The one name that's going to be considered in-house is Shane Waldron, the Seahawks offensive coordinator. Now, in a perfect world, Shane Waldron, in my eyes, would not be back as let alone head coach, but not even offensive coordinator. I thought this offense underachieved with all the weapons this offense had, from the likes of DK to Tyler Lockett, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet, Geno Smith, Noah Fant, JSN, Jake Bobo, list goes on and on and on, right? And they didn't have much to show for it this year. Shane Waldron has been with the organization since 2021, and a guy that we saw with Los Angeles, part of their passing game coordinator, 2-time Super Bowl champion as an assistant coach. I don't think Waldron's ready to be a head coach. And the number one reason I would point to, if we were to put kind of a cap on all this for Shane Waldron, is that this year not only did they underachieve offensively, they never established an identity with their offense. They told us they wanted to be a run-first team. They never were a run-first team. And as OC, if you can't establish an identity, why would I trust you as a head coach to establish an identity for the entire team? Eric Bieniemy, the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator. Ron Rivera is out as their head coach. Bieniemy taking calls, trying to see if he can get a head coaching job or if he's going to end up being an OC once again. Did a great job in Kansas City as their offensive coordinator, shared play calling duties with Andy Reid there, helped that team get to 2 Super Bowls. Goes to Washington this year. They got off to a really good start offensively, but that offense kind of fell apart down the stretch. Sam Howell didn't look like the same quarterback he was. That team went the wrong direction. I would love to see Bieniemy be the Seahawks OC. And I look at Eric Bieniemy. This is somebody that is the adult in the room. Think about the Kansas City Chiefs right now and all the problems that the Chiefs are going through for a team that's coming off a Super Bowl win. That offense is missing that adult in the room. Eric Bieniemy's not a player's coach. He will get in your face. He will yell at you. He will chew you out. And that doesn't always go well. We saw him go back and forth, a lot of head banging with Patrick Mahomes over the years. Coming off a year where they only won 4 games in Washington and that offense faded, that doesn't convince me to make him a head coach. And that's not even diving into the legal issues in the past for Eric Bieniemy. I'll take him as my OC, but I'd be hesitant to make him head coach. A few more names here for you. Mike Macdonald, the DC of the Baltimore Ravens. He is going to be a name to watch for a number of jobs, as the Ravens have the number 1 seed in the AFC and the best opponents' points per game defense in the NFL this year. Macdonald's done a great job. Was previously at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh. I got to tell you, I really like what Mike Macdonald's done. And the opposite could be said about him, comparably speaking to Shane Waldron. They have an identity in Baltimore with what Mike Macdonald has done, how physical that defense is, the way we've seen Roquan Smith turn into one of the best inside linebackers in the league. Patrick Quinn playing at a Pro Bowl level now. Credit where credit's due. Mike Macdonald really got that defense cooking, and he's going to be probably the most likely defensive coordinator to get a head coaching job this cycle. Now, with the coaching change, marks the end of an era in Seattle. And I'll tell you what, I got nothing but positive things to say about Pete Carroll. Two things could be true at once. Yes, the Seahawks did need to move on and need a new voice to lead this organization. But we're still thankful for what Pete Carroll did for Seahawks football, delivering the best era of Seattle Seahawks football and bringing home a title. What's your favorite memory of the time of Pete Carroll had with this organization? Weigh in the comment section. Let us know what you think. A couple more names to get to. Let's go to Raheem Morris, the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. And here's somebody that has head coaching experience. Previously was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that tenure did not go great as he had one 10-win season with that organization in a 3-year stretch. But when you look at what he's done as an assistant coach, he's got 2 Super Bowl titles to his credit there with the Rams and the Bucs, and has been one of the best defensive coordinators in football over the last few years. I like Raheem Morris. He's the guy for me that I think probably is more so a career defensive coordinator. That might be his best route, but nonetheless, he's going to be one that is, I think, close to a chance to get that second shot because of how well this has gone with this tenure here with the Rams as DC. Last on the list, another familiar name for Seahawks fans, Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a longtime assistant under Pete Carroll in Seattle, as he was everything from QB coach to wide receivers coach, a number of roles from 2010 to 2022, and also was part of the Seahawks Super Bowl championship staff, and is credited with what we saw from Geno Smith this past year, where Geno took a huge step and threw 30 touchdowns last season. And then this past year, worked with Baker Mayfield and did a really good job. That team is in the postseason. They get to host a playoff game, and Canales is credited with the resurgence of both of those quarterbacks' careers with what he was able to do with both those guys. I'll say this, though. I haven't seen enough of a sample size after just 1 year of Canales as OC to say he's ready to be a head coach yet, but he's trending in the right direction there. So before we go, let's recap the replacement options for the Seahawks: Dan Quinn, Jim Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel, Ben Johnson, Kalen DeBoer, Shane Waldron, Eric Bieniemy, Mike Macdonald, Raheem Morris, and Dave Canales. Keep it locked in to Seahawks Today. We'll be all over the coaching search over the next several days. Subscribe now for free, and we'll see you next time.